Hey guys, this is CJ Westfall and my host here, Joel Bryant, and our special guest today, Wesley Donehue. We're glad you're here. Wes, we're glad you're here with us today. For those who don't know who Wesley is, he has served as a digital advisor for politicians across America. For a lot of the household names that you know, he's worked with Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Tom Cotton, who I'm a big fan of, Senator David Perdue, Senator Marco Rubio, Congressman Trey Gowdy, who's a total badass, and more parties, PACs, and issue advocacy groups than we can count. He's also advised numerous corporations on branding and or crisis communication, including huge companies like SeaWorld, Kmart, Sears, HSN, and I'm not even doing him justice by that long list. Wesley, thanks for joining us, man. How's your day going so far?
Been a busy day, man. It feels like Friday. It's been such a crazy week. Been on the road all week long. Finally got back into Charleston today. So just tired, but feeling good.
That's good. That's good, man.
Staying in motion, man. We appreciate you joining. I know our paths have crossed before. So before we kind of jump into kind of like the interview that I have set up, I want to give you a chance to plug what we got here. I just listened today to the Under Fire podcast episode.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Under Fire podcast and where the idea to start it came from? I really like today's episode.
Yeah, man. So, I've been doing politics for quite a while, and we started getting hired by corporations a few years back that were looking for some political knife fighters that realized, with cancel culture in particular, they're not in marketing fights anymore. They're in brand reputation fights. So they decided to hire politicos that know how to get in the trenches, right? So we launched this new company this year called the Lawrence Group, which is our corporate firm. And then we launched this podcast along with it to really talk about public relations crises and cancel culture. Because, like every day someone's getting canceled or every day there's some sort of public relations crises. So the point of the podcast is to talk about whatever the hot stories are of the week, how these people or these corporations or these politicians, for lack of a better term, stepped in a pile of shit, and what we would do to help them get out of it.
So you're giving away a lot of
awesome,
giving away a lot of free game.
Yeah, we're having fun with it, man. We just wanted to start a podcast that we would listen to, and I'm really having a fun time with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
we're having fun with ours too.
Can check it out on Spotify.
Yeah, go check it out on Spotify. We're on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram. It's fun stuff.
Right on. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. You're right with the cancel culture. I mean, I've listened to a few episodes. I haven't caught every one of them, but I mean, today was just great free game too for anybody that does deal in whether it's a corporate marketing world or in politics. Today's was, don't put your bad behavior in writing. Something I've definitely been guilty of in the past.
Yeah.
Same.
The podcast that you'd probably enjoy the most, man, was a good friend of mine, Joel Sawyer, who was the communications director, press secretary for Mark Sanford. We did a whole episode on the Mark Sanford story. And from his point of view and from my point of view, that episode really blew up. So you should go check that one out. I think you would enjoy it.
Awesome. I definitely will.
Yeah. Same.
You want to hit the next one, Joel?
All right. Let's see. Let me hit the next one. So let's what was the next one you wanted me to talk about?
So Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey, yes. That was a great campaign last year. Y'all raised historic amounts of money, defeated a tough Harrison campaign by only 10 points. How close was the race at times with polling? And we know how challenging the polling can be. And just tell us about that race. There was a lot going on there.
Man. It was bonkers, right? Like the previous fundraising record set was Inez Tenenbaum, which I ran the campaign against her. I shouldn't say I ran it. I was younger then. I was on the campaign against her with Jen DeMint. That was really where I got my start. She raised like $7 million. We raised $130 million with Lindsey Graham, and Jamie Harrison spent more than that. I thought that it was the most expensive Senate race in history until Georgia, but I found out yesterday when I looked at numbers that David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler a month later both raised less than Lindsey Graham. So at this point, Lindsey Graham is the biggest non-presidential candidate fundraiser on the Republican side in history. I mean, it was crazy. It was insane. Like, we never expected to raise that much money. And then Jamie started raising just tons of cash. And I think every Senate race from now on is going to be setting these kind of records, man. But, we handled the digital. The TV was done by my partner, Scott Howell, but it was shot by my videographers. So we basically did all the TV and digital out of the push office. And honestly, man, Lindsey's great to work with because I know you guys see him from afar, but he's just such a good dude. He would log on to our digital calls, like unexpected. Like we would just have a digital call and he would log on just to be like, guys, I just want to let you know you're doing a great job. And he's like, hey, I just want to listen in, see what you guys are doing. And just to tell like my designers or like my account executives that they were just doing a great job. And he's just, I know that Lindsey could be, I know he's pissed off some Republicans. I know he pisses off a lot of Democrats. I know he can be controversial. But I'm just telling you, of all the guys I've ever worked with, he's just a really, really decent human being. So I really enjoyed that campaign.
Awesome.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for you helping, maybe things would have went differently. I've heard you mention on other shows before, just to kind of put a button on this, just about what that polling looked like 2 weeks out.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed that part of the question.
You're fine.
Yeah, I mean, we were even at some points. It was around really 2 points, give or take, up until the last couple weeks of the election. Once Scotty, my partner, shot that Sisters ad where his sister came on and told a story about how their parents died young and how Lindsey raised her. That's when things really started to change and numbers started to spread out. That, along with the fact that Jamie Harrison was funding that third-party candidate and calling him a Republican, and that guy was, that was all just crazy bullshit. And people saw through that, yeah. And once those two things happened, the numbers started to increase a good bit, but it was close up until the bitter end, man. We went until that weekend thinking that it was going to be way closer than it was.
Wow. That's nuts. And if you look at, even the 2016, I know you worked with Marco, even the 2016 Republican primary presidential cycle, $130 million in that race, in the presidential race, would be a huge amount.
Yeah, and it was all raised online. I mean, it's crazy. The low dollar donors, man, people giving $5-10, and whenever you're getting donations from that many people, it adds up. Yeah. And I'm still shocked. Like, I was talking about it today, even though, we're now, 8 months removed, it's still just mind blowing. I remember days where we were raising six figures every single day. Wow. And we've never seen anything like this before. I got into politics when I was 15. I'm 41 now, and I thought I'd seen it all, and it was just mind blowing.
Well, things have been evolving since, and that's kind of what takes us into my next thing before we hit the UFOs. So we're kind of in the era in the Republican Party, I believe, of like the Marjorie Taylor Greene era. And I feel like you're a little bit to blame, and I don't mean that in a mean way.
Whoa!
I feel like Wesley, capitalized off an awesome moment, and it's kind of changed politics. I'm going to roll this clip here that many of you guys may have been familiar with.
There are also those who claim that our reform efforts would ensure illegal immigrants. This, too, is false. The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally.
That's it. And so he was lying.
I'm going to challenge the premise of your point and say, actually, I think but I think you're right. And there's a really good episode of Under Fire coming out. We shot yesterday. It'll probably be like 3 weeks, with a buddy named Cyrus Crone, who wrote a really good book called Bombarded. And which is all about how digital has created this really crazy political environment he's in. And I told him then, I said, I both loved and hated your book. I loved it because you're spot on. I hate it because I felt guilty and I had a crisis of conscience, because I did feel partly to blame for where we are now. I don't think it started with Joe. I think it started even before, when I was doing Jim DeMint stuff, because Jim was really one of the very first hard conservatives to utilize the internet, and that was all me. And at one time, he was the most followed member of Congress on the Republican side, and actually was the most followed member of Congress below Barack Obama. Wow. And he had a lot to do with this. And by the time Joe Wilson came around, things were really, really rolling. I spent the day with Joe I think it was last week. I saw Joe on an airplane. He was coming into Charleston. He was waiting for an Uber, and we were talking in D.C. before, and I was like, "Hey, where are you going?" So I took him, and he had a couple hours to spare, and he wanted to see my new office, so we hung out for a few hours. And I'll tell you, Joe is like Lindsey. Joe is an absolute Southern gentleman, which was what was so weird about the ULI moment, and it was so out of character for him.
Really?
And I don't know if you'll remember. So we set congressional fundraising records after ULI, but it wasn't because he screamed at the president. It was because immediately, because this is the kind of man Joe was, he didn't do what Marjorie Taylor Greene does. He went and apologized to the president and the speaker. He called them both and said, "I was out of line. That's not how government should work, and I'm sorry."
Wow.
And then he went on TV and he said, "I'm sorry." And despite that, Nancy Pelosi tried to censor him. And it was the censure that got him all the money, because conservatives were like, wait a minute. He apologized and you're still going after him? And that's when we set congressional fundraising records.
I see. And it was like 2.5 million in 2 weeks. Do you see a little bit of people trying to recreate their own? Because it does sound like from what you just told me, it sounds like Joe tried to make it right. It sounds like he had, the right intentions. But do you see people with the opposite intentions in Congress? You don't have to name names, but people that try to recreate moments like the Jewish space laser thing and.
Yeah. So after that happened, and that really helped build push, people would call me and say, "Can you raise that much money for me?" And I said, 100%. Go do something crazy. Go yell at the president of the United States. If you go yell at the president of the United States, I can raise you a couple $1 million. And I was joking, but that's what's happening now. Digital fundraising is bottling lightning. And I always said that the beauty of the Donald Trump campaign was that lightning struck every 5 minutes, because the president would say these things and people would donate. And now people are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to create lightning for digital fundraising purposes. And you see it every single day now. People will go and say crazy shit just to raise money.
Well, that confirms my my suspicions that people were saying crazy shit.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Half the time you see people say crazy shit, it's because they'll raise money. They just want the attention, acquire email addresses, raise money.
Yeah.
Well, that confirms my suspicion. You want to hit the next one, Joel? I think I skipped over something in our outline there.
But the back to the Lindsey campaign, was that one of the most difficult ones you've ever had to be a part of, or was there another one that was even tougher?
Yeah, man, it was difficult for the reason that there was so much money coming in and it had so much national attention. But to be honest with you, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was difficult in that there was a lot of work to do when we were working around the clock, but I've had more difficult campaigns because they just sucked. Like, they just sucked ass because they were just really volatile and nasty. A lot of local races are way, way tougher than the Lindsey Graham campaign because, and CJ can tell you, we've got into it at times because, and I don't want to do any more local races because, you're getting in these arguments with people you go to church with, or you see at the grocery store. And I don't want to do those kind of races anymore. Those are the ones that are really, really tough because they're more stressful and they keep you up at night. I actually thrive off the stress and the work. Like, doing Lindsey shit was just fun because it was around the clock work. That's what I live for. It's the stress and the infighting and the volatile nature of the local stuff that's really, really tough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. We know. We've done a few local ones ourselves.
I referenced to Somerville. You can look it up. Like, a guy that literally sat behind me in church at St. Paul started putting up memes about me on Facebook, and then we'd go to church on Sunday at St. Paul's, and he sat right behind me singing hymns.
Wow.
Like everything is okay. That's the shit that's tough.
Yeah, I can see how that would be. Yeah.
I mean, this isn't something we had planned to ask, but what can we do to start helping set the example to take the rhetoric down? Because it's not just on the left, it's on the right too. The rhetoric's getting out of control. A lot of it's reactionary stuff. A lot less of it is just policy solutions. Are you seeing anything from candidates that are trying to take the temperature down? And what can we do as leaders in the community to try to ratchet? Because I don't want things to be volatile like that either, man. I think conversations like this need to happen.
I think you see Nancy doing some pretty good stuff here in the first, where she's trying to reach across the aisle and work with both sides and not try to be so volatile. That's because the first congressional district is purple, but also because Nancy's pragmatic. I think the biggest problem is that we've got to this all or nothing culture where it's not like I'm pragmatic. It's like football to me. Like you can't score a touchdown every single play. Look, you gotta get a few yards, then the opposing team's going to come on the field and they're going to score a few yards, and the goal is to win long term. The win isn't to throw a touchdown every single play. And we've reached this point where people just want to win, and it's not about any kind of ideology. They just want to win, and they want to win on every single play, and they expect all or nothing. And until we change our mentality of like democracy is about governing and two sides coming together, and the goal is for us to win as much as we can, but not win everything all the time. Until we get back to that point, I don't see a real solution.
That's some good insight.
Yeah, really well said.
Well, Wesley, so I had to get your thoughts on this. I'm sure you read through it. We haven't chatted about it yet, but so if you don't know, the intelligence community just released a roughly 7-page preliminary report, just the preliminary report on what they're calling unidentified aerial phenomena. I guess they're not called UFOs anymore. We know that Wesley is close with Senator Rubio, so we're not going to let him off the hook today, folks. Senator Rubio is on the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he's been pushing for more information on this for a long time. So my question is, what can you tell us?
Yeah, first off, I haven't worked with Marco since his Senate race. I was his chief digital strategist on presidential, and then I ran all the digital for his Senate race. So I'm not talking to Marco or his team like I used to. But you know I'm a big sci-fi nerd, and I'm a big space nerd. So I've been paying very, very, very close attention to this, man. And I think this is I don't think government's hiding anything. I really don't. I think they genuinely don't know. And that's what's so scary, right? Like, I would rather them be hiding something, to be honest with you, because the fact that they don't know shit
is scarier.
It is way scarier. Way scarier.
Way scarier, for sure. You know
what my personal opinion is on this? Is that they exist. And we're getting so far away from politics, I'm going to tell you.
Oh, no, it's all good.
They're so far advanced that they look at us like we look at monkeys. Or like monkeys, monkeys look at us and they're like, what are those guys doing on those phones? And these guys, that's how we would be to these guys. If you look at like Star Trek or Star Wars or any sci-fi, these aliens meet and we're on like a common level. I don't think that's it at all. Like, these guys are so absolutely advanced from the way they probably perceive time and space that we're not even worth their time. They're just like dropping in and observing us the way like people go on safaris and look at elephants.
I think that's an interesting theory.
I like that take.
I don't think they're going to screw with us for the fact that we're not worth your time. They're just like going on safari and checking out the humans, and then they're off doing their own thing in another dimension.
So your take is that they're not hiding anything from us. In that preliminary report, one thing I noticed was they were trying to break some of the stigmas, because they said, okay, here's like I think it was like 184 cases that we can confirm that like fit in this box of like not being Russia, China, not being our experimental stuff in the other category. But I feel like there's like probably a stigma that they were trying to break in the intelligence community, where people are kind of afraid to come forward with what they do know, because they're, if they're high up and they say, hey, here's, signs of extraterrestrials, here's something that I've seen, they're going to be laughed at and mocked. But now I'm glad that the conversation's kind of coming out in the mainstream. Do you kind of get that idea?
Yeah, that's kind of the idea I get. But I genuinely think that the only thing they were hiding is the fact that they don't know. And that's kind of embarrassing to government when you think about it. Like, these things are popping up around our battleships and we don't know what the hell they are. And then Mitt Romney came out, was it yesterday? And he's like, it's definitely not China or Russia.
Right.
And it's not us. So, that really only leaves one possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, they're real.
Yeah, it's real.
They're 100% real. At least a mathematical certainty. They're real.
So this weekend, I got a chance to check out brunch at the new Frothy Beard facility. Looks like you guys are still working on things, but Joel and I loved Homegrown before it was Frothy Beard. So we're stoked about Frothy. Yeah. We got to check out the menu. Can you tell us, what made you motivated to kind of start competing on Main Street in Somerville? Main Street in Somerville needs some more dope spots to go to. What did you have in? What did you have in mind with Frothy Beard on Main Street? What kind of motivated you to start that?
Yeah, and speaking of space and nerd shit, this is going to be a completely sci-fi space-themed place. We wanted to open a second location, and I talked to the partners about Somerville. And you use the word competing, and I don't think we're competing against anybody because I think downtown Somerville is lacking. And if you go down to the square, there's a couple bars and restaurants, but it's dominated by like law offices and insurance offices and real estate offices, and it needs more. It needs more foot traffic. It needs more reasons for people to go down there. And Caleb was kind of checked out of homegrown, and he wanted to do something different with it, so we decided to buy it from him. And we're under construction right now. We haven't even got our construction permitting yet. In fact, I was literally just trading texts with Councilman Bill McIntosh, which is why I was a couple minutes late, trying to figure out how to get this permitting done. But it's under construction. We can't do the real construction yet. All we're doing is basically just knocking down some walls and painting and doing some things. But when you go in there 60 days from now, that thing should look completely different. And we're super excited about it, man. I'm passionate about downtown Somerville. I live down here, and we're going to raise our kids here. So I just want downtown to be a super cool place.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
And I want to give other businesses a reason to come down. You're not going to get good retail shops, for example, unless there's more foot traffic. And it's going to take someone like me. And, Elizabeth and I always talked about, like, we need this or that. Someone needs to do this. I'm like, well, I'm someone. I could do this. We want to open a second location. Why not just bring Frothy to Somerville?
Right. Well, we appreciate it, man. We definitely appreciate it.
We're stoked, bro. We're stoked.
Well,
we'll see us in there a lot.
So we're going to be bringing our flagship beers down from West Ashley, and it's going to be our small batch house. We're going to have like a bunch of barrel-aged stuff there. It's going to, some stuff in bourbon barrels, some sours. It's going to be pretty sweet.
Right on.
Yeah, you'll probably run into us in there. Me and CJ will probably set up a spot.
I'll buy the first couple rounds.
Right on, man. Well, it's no secret, Joel and I are about 20 years behind you. We're doing some of the same similar things, just on a much smaller level, and we're both deeply passionate about political campaigns. Last year, we were successful in the most competitive, arguably, election in Dorchester County. It was a 9-way race. Any game that you want to share with the young cats like us when we're working multiple campaigns and business retainers at once, still trying to get things off the ground?
First off, I don't think it's 20 years, right? Like, I'm only 41. So, I'm like, how old are you guys?
I'm 22, and CJ?
26.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, it is almost 20 years for you, and all right, more like 15 for CJ. Advice, man. All right, so my first bit of advice, CJ, which is I told you before in private. When I was younger, I was a bomb thrower, and just remember in politics, a lot of this is about everything in business, not just politics. Business in general is about relationships, and in campaigns, things get heated. Figure out a way to go up against these guys, go up against your opponent, but at the end of the day, you can still go and get beers with them. There's a lot of Democrats in this state. Look, Sandy Sims race is a good one, where we beat Sam. Oh God, I forgot his last. And he called me up, and he was like, "Hey, I'd love to go get some coffee with you and pick your brain about why you whipped my ass."
He's a good guy,
dude. Great dude. I went and had beer. I had a couple not beer. We had coffee together, and that's the kind of thing that should happen after these races, right? Like, you can go and he was like, "Hey man, all this stuff was happening. Like, my grandma was seeing different ads from my cousins and my wife's best friend. They're all getting these different ads. How'd you do that?" He really wanted to understand what I did and get to know me, and I thought that was so cool. And I can tell you that the Democrat, like, I run the Senate Republican caucus, and like some of my close friends are Democrats, like Gerald Malloy, African American Democrat, is a very close friend of mine, even though legislatively I whipped his ass 30 times at least now, right? So it's all about, like, how can you do this and still make friends and don't take it so personal is my first bit of advice people getting into politics. And then second is just hustle, man. It's all about hustle and grinding. Look, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, and I'm not the best looking, as you can see, or the most well spoken, but I outwork everybody. Like, there's not a lot of people that can outwork me, and that's how I built my career, and that's how you win races, man. It's just like freaking grinding, just grind.
Right on, man. Well, Wes, we got a ton of respect for you, and you've definitely laid the bricks on the road that Joel and I are traveling now together. The day I'll never forget the day that you took me and Justin to your office. It was 2 years ago. At the time, I was 24. So being the bomb thrower at 24, you can imagine. But dude, that was deeply inspiring. It lit a fire in me and inspired us to go down the path we go down now. I know you and I have had falling outs before. I think you've probably grown from that. I definitely have.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you agreeing to come on. We appreciate your time. And hopefully at some point, come on again soon, man. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, man, I'll do it anytime. Like, you guys are killing it, man. I'm paying attention to what you guys do. I don't pay attention to a lot of the local stuff, so I turn on your video just to get caught up on some of these local issues. So keep crushing it, man. And I'm always here for advice or to come on the show, man. But you guys are killing it, and you're on your way to doing something awesome.
Thanks, Wes. Anything you want to add, Joel?
No, I think you said it all, man. You said it all. Maybe we'll have to have them check out my album, right?
Hey, I did. So I watched some of the last episode. I didn't realize that you did that. So is it on Spotify? Where can I check it out?
Yeah, it's on Spotify, Apple Music. I got it on all platforms there. So,
all right. Well, I just found out right before I got on the show, so I'm gonna go check that out here shortly.
Awesome. Heck yeah.
Right on.
Sounds good, man.
Most of hip hop music, I know you don't only listen to hip hop like I do, but I know Wesley's a hip hop fan. Most of it is liberal. Most of it is all liberal. So Joel's kind of take is not, there's not politics in all of his music, but he's a conservative rapper. We need more of that.
I didn't even know that existed, man. But
yeah.
But man, I know we got to end this, but like, I love it because it is liberal, man. You gotta look.
Sure.
The only way to win races, by the way, is to listen to the other side. I don't watch Fox News.
Yep.
I listen to MSNBC. That's what I watch. And people think I'm crazy. Well, the only way to win is to find out what the other side's saying, to find out what the other side is thinking. Political campaign is all about empathy and understanding why people are coming from this direction. They're not coming from this direction because they're assholes. They're coming from this direction because they've experienced something in their lives. And first off, that's the only way to get anything done is to have empathy for them. But the only way to beat them is to understand why they're saying what they say. So it's important that you watch liberal news. It's important that you read liberal books. It's important that you listen to liberal music. Because if you're only surrounded by your own shit, you're going to be closed-minded. But second off, you're going to lose. You're just going to lose.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
That's
I mean,
true.
I think
That is true,
that's a good note to end on because, I mean, that's something I've been trying to preach over the last year, man. We saw Nancy vote against the AUMF, which, would basically roll back Biden's war powers. And all these Republicans are like, why is she voting with the Democrats? And I was like, who cares? She's doing a great thing. Like, that's just one example. But, yeah, I think it's a good note to end off on. Thanks for joining us, Wes. Hope to have you back on soon at some point.
All right, guys. I'll take care, man. Thanks for having me.
Take it easy, brother.
Thanks for coming, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, guys, before we end off, Wesley's going to be logging off here. But before
We're
we
still
end
live,
off,
CJ.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
So before we end off here, I want to just kind of give you guys a preview of what the show is going to look like on Friday. Stephen Wright's going to be joining us again. We're about to have him on. He's the new Dorchester County Republican Party chairman. Just want to kind of give you just a quick preview of some of the topics that we have prepared. Today we did an interview. It was awesome value. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But also on Friday, we have a huge list of topics of news, things going on locally that you guys need to know about. So some of the topics that you want to hear about today, there was a special called council meeting at 3 p.m. Bob Jackson gave an awesome speech. We're going to have that up for you soon. Also, so like I mentioned, Stephen Wright's coming on, Dorchester Republican Party chairman. He's coming on with a huge announcement, and he's coming on to tell you guys about it first. So don't miss it. Stephen's got a huge announcement coming. Don't miss that. Don't miss it. We know what's going on.
Yeah, we know it. We got the scoop.
Yeah.
Y'all better come get the ice cream from the scoop. That's all I'm gonna say. $5 or $10. No,
$5 or $10 to the campaign. Jamie Harrison, he's out raising us. And so then also, I have some FOIAs that I've been getting back. If you don't know what that is, that's a Freedom of Information Act request. We've been submitting them to the town of Somerville about this town administrator firing. We have some more developments that are going to be coming out Friday. Also, Joel, I don't know if you've seen this, but because of the Delta variant of the coronavirus,
I heard about it. Yeah,
they're bringing back lockdowns in a lot of different places, and lockdowns don't work, and it's stupid, and we're going to talk about it. Also, a couple more things, and I promise we'll go. McMaster vetoed a lot of the pork in the 2021 budget, and then the legislature late yesterday, overrode a lot of those vetoes to keep some of that pork in the budget this year. So we're going to go line by line. We're going to talk about what kind of pork spending is in there, and then finally an update on the 2021 Somerville Town Council races on November 2nd this year. Somerville Town Council is going to elect some new leaders, and we have some updates for you. So keep your eyes on the news. Anything you want to add before we hop off, Joel?
I'll show up here tomorrow. What's the time? 6
Friday.
o'clock. We're doing Friday. I'm dumb. Friday.
No, you're good.
Tomorrow.
You're fine.
I forget. It was originally. But anyway, Friday, 6 or 7. What time, CJ?
7.
7. Also,